What up,
Yeah,
Lee?
we've got Danga here.
Danger. Danger there.
All right, welcome to the Survivor Michigan after show. Some very special guests here. We should be joined by one more at some point, but we'll get started without them. So, yeah, I mean, what did you guys make?
Pretty wild.
Uh, yeah, definitely crazy. A crime against gays. A very homophobic
Yeah,
episode.
your Toki Doki buddy Adam. How did you feel watching his final steps here?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty devastating to see the last representative of season 4 go home. So it's a somber day for season 4 fans. So I was upset, was really proud of what AJ accomplished this season. It was a pretty big turnaround from his first season. So although he effectively voted himself out, so disappointing play there at the end.
He fell for the Bailey curse. Everyone who writes down Bailey's name goes home in that tribal.
Is that true?
Yeah, Tom wrote down Bailey's name, Paddock wrote down Bailey's name, Kevin wrote down Bailey's name, even though he shouldn't have, and then Adam wrote down Bailey's name. They all went home in that tribal.
It was the Bailey curse against Adam getting whatever he wants at every tribal, apparently. So one of them had to unstoppable force meets immovable objects, and Bailey wins, I guess.
Yeah. What did we make of the just the strategy this episode and where people ended up?
What strategy?
I haven't really fully crunched the numbers in my head, but I'm really comparing Adam not voting for Leia very similarly to Jackson not voting for whoever he was supposed to vote
for. It's the same. Leia would have gone home if Adam had voted for Leia.
Right, but I'm even thinking of what are the down effects if he was wrong? Like, let's say he voted for Leia and actually people were telling the truth and there was 3 on Bailey, right? Because that's where he thought the votes were going. So then there would have been 3 on Bailey, 3 on Leia. It would go a revote, and then he could just switch his vote back to Bailey, and then he could just save face the following week and say, there was really no negative downside for me to voting Leia other than me saving myself. Like, truly him voting Leia is either he was wrong or Cooper was right and he's safe, or he was wrong and then he votes out Bailey anyways on the revote, and he could just say that was literally an insurance policy. Don't take it personally, Leia.
Yeah, I mean, I think Leia actually Leia's sort of saying in her voting confessional that she even kind of knows that it makes sense for either Bailey or Adam to be voting for her.
But I'm specifically at Bailey, I knew wasn't, or I would assume Leia knew Bailey wasn't going to vote for her, but Adam could still vote for Leia and still not send her home and then vote Bailey on the revote if it was not him going home. If it was going home, then he just saved himself and Leia goes home. He goes, I'd rather it be her than me. So there was no scenario where him voting Leia either saves himself or he saves Leia and votes Bailey. And that was the same situation with Jackson. If you do the math when he was voting, he either votes Cooper and he's safe, or he doesn't vote Cooper. It was an insurance vote and he's not safe. So I don't know. It was bad gameplay in my perspective.
I mean, obviously Adam made a massive mistake. There was no, I mean, it was told to him that was going to happen. I'm going to caveat all my opinions that I really need an espresso. So I gotta caveat that the espresso is very crucial. I've been up since 4:30, but I'm actually more perplexed by Sam's decision in the end. And I guess it probably came down to that the connection with Leia was probably much more longstanding and deeper for him. But I guess there must be some rational argument. But as someone who picked Sam as the top of my draft, I feel like Adam was 100% going to keep him around. Did not seem like he was going to stray anyway. Had just voted with him at that vote. It feels like a really big mistake for him to not keep Adam in the game over Leia at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what it plays out. I think we will get some explanation from him in the future of the show. But
I was confused. What did Sam want to happen? Because he seemed upset that they didn't vote Andrew, but if they would have voted Andrew and stuck with the vote, then Andrew plays his idol.
Yeah.
Is that what he was upset about?
I think that in that moment, Sam just is freaking out. I don't think he was totally thinking rationally when he's realizing what's happening, but because he just wanted to vote Bailey and he felt blindsided 5 seconds before tribal that they're telling him we're voting Adam. He doesn't have, because of where everyone's standing, he does not have time to get to Adam and tell him anything, Like like we were literally trying to start tribal for like 15 minutes and people just wouldn't stop talking. And at some point we were like, it has to start, you know?
How did
Are
that
you
affect
not
the
allowed to
time? Was
whisper
it
a tribal?
Hi guys, what's up?
What's up?
Would you like to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, so my name is Trong Vu, but you guys can call me T Vu. I'm from Minnesota, part of Twin Cities Survivor. Yeah.
Sweet. Austin, what were you saying?
I was gonna say, when you said 30 minutes before tribal, was that 30 minutes plus 15, or how did you do the math on the?
I don't know exactly.
I mean, we need to know these details.
I just remember
Where's
that we
Cooper
were
to do
there and it was like time for tribal to start, and we've always tried to be very strict about that. Like you can't keep it, you know what I mean? Like you shouldn't be able to keep
because it can
pushing
keep going forever. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we were just like, guys, we like eventually we were just like, we are starting. Like, sit down, we're voting, figure it out. And so yeah.
That's
Are
what's,
these
it's so
people-
it's. No, go ahead, Lee.
Oh, I was gonna ask, are these people not allowed to like whisper to each other at tribal?
No, you can do that.
Like
I
I
think
Sam just whispered to Adam like, "Hey, we're switching the vote" or something.
I don't know. Whispering is risky though. Like if you start whispering, everybody starts freaking out, you know? Like, and I think they also like were hoping / praying that Andrew just wouldn't play an idol. I feel like that's what they're doing there. It's like a desperation play. Like, we'll just vote for him, it'll be fine. If they can't agree, right? Like Leia wants it to be Adam, Sam wants it to be Bailey. They can't agree, so they're like, fine, we'll vote Andrew, I guess, and just like, I don't know, risk it basically.
Or I saw it as if Sam told Adam would be like he might just switch and vote Leah.
Yeah, that's also possible because Adam was saying the whole time, if they don't vote Bailey, then that's like a sign that they're not with me, right? Like that was his thing the whole episode. Was like, if they're not willing to vote off Bailey, then they're not really with me. So that could have happened. Yeah, he might have just freaked out.
What was so tough was like, it was so hard to tell what. I mean, obviously we saw what happened. Like Leia and Bree vote Adam, but like their conversation right before where they switched to Andrew did seem real then. And were they just making their decision?
No.
at the
Leia
voting?
and Sam voted for Andrew. Bree and Bailey voted for Adam. So Leia and Sam were
didn't know
blind.
that Bree was voting Adam.
Yeah, Leia and Sam thought that Bree was voting Adam with them. They were like blindsided by that. Bree basically was like, I don't care what they're saying. I'm voting Adam no matter what. Like, I'm not. This was honestly a Bree's move, if it was anyone's move. Like, Bree was like, I know for a fact there'll be 2 votes on Adam, and if I vote Adam, and I'm not, like, I'm voting Adam, because she didn't want Leia to go home, and she thought Andrew would play an idol. So she like was like, voting Andrew's dumb. I'm not doing that, even if that's what they're telling me. I'm not doing it.
Who did Sam think Bree was voting for?
Andrew. The 3 of them thought they had agreed to vote Andrew, but Bree was just not doing that, no matter what Sam and Leia said.
That is what's so fascinating about this vote is like there's no solid ground for any of them to play on. Like even you have your Slab Alliance and your other. I love that this episode turned Cooper, Bailey, and Andrew. I mean, Andrew's been an underdog, but like Cooper and Bailey suddenly went from being top dogs the whole game to just suddenly being underdogs. And I was like, what just happened? Like the whiplash in my mind, but they were.
Yeah, this episode's really fascinating to me because there really is no majority, basically. Like there's not even really like a set alliance because you have like ostensibly this foursome of Bree, Leia, Sam, and Adam, but that's very clearly not really solid because the girls are so willing to vote Adam and they're with Bailey, but Sam and Adam aren't with Bailey, but Cooper and Andrew are with Bailey, but Bailey's like doesn't want to vote for them, but also doesn't really want to vote for any of the people they want to vote for. So it's just like this endless kind of circle. Like it's really hard to like pair out what. There's just no majority that could come together, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like it was a roulette wheel, and if it could have kept going until you guys stopped tribal, and it just happened in those 2 minutes to land on that.
Totally,
which is insane. Like,
I'm sure if Sam has any more time, he tells Adam at least like where the vote is going. You know.
Has there been like internal chat within the crew? If Andrew doesn't play as idol, who goes home? Is it still Adam?
We think it goes to Rocks because
Really?
what we had decided was that in that scenario, the only people who get to vote on the revote are Bailey, Bree, Cooper, and Sam. And Cooper has said that he would try to force it to go to Rocks no matter what, basically. So he would try to guess where the other people are voting and he would try to tie it. He has said that he would have wanted to go to Rocks no matter what at that point because he's immune. and that would make him immune, Andrew immune, and he's just like, I think that would be the best for me, is what he has said apparently. And then
over saving Bailey, because then if that
Bailey
goes-
needs 80 votes, so it can't be Bailey unless Bailey rocks out. It would be between, they could only vote for
That's
Leia.
what I mean,
Adam,
rock
or-
out.
Yeah, but
Would
then it comes
Sam
down to
rock?
like, is Leia and Bree gonna go to? Is Bree gonna go to rocks for Adam? I think the answer is no.
No.
But Cooper and Andrew are saying we're voting Leia again no matter what. So you guys either agree on Leia or rocks. That's probably what happens.
Well, Andrew doesn't get to vote because he didn't play his idols, so it
Oh,
would be
that's
the
right.
4 people voting. Presumably, Bree and Bailey still keep it on Adam.
Mhm.
Sam throws his vote on Andrew, and then you would think Cooper would put Leia, and then it would be Adam going home. But if Cooper puts his vote on
Right.
It kind of would be up to Sam to be like, will he cause a tie between Leia and Adam, or just ultimately send Adam home? If he forces it to be a
the tie would
tie,
have to be forced onto Andrew because Sam would keep his vote onto Andrew.
Right. No, that's the thing is that Leia and Sam are going to vote Andrew. And so Bree is either voting Adam by herself. Like Cooper either votes Adam or he's saying to Bailey, like, we're voting Leia. At the point
Ian, you got to get Dale to do a Shannon recap now.
Yeah,
of the
Dale,
votes.
you might
Shannon
do your
takes
own
idols, Dale takes votes.
your own vote, your own fanfic of what would have happened. But I believe that we mapped it out and we thought it would go to rocks because Cooper's trying to tie it no matter what, and they can't. There's no way they're agreeing on what's happening.
Because Bailey wouldn't vote for Andrew because Andrew's her Dale, so Bailey's not voting Andrew, obviously.
Right, but Bailey and Cooper would kind of have to agree, otherwise Andrew would go home probably.
Who is voting Andrew? Other than Sam.
Sam
and Adam.
No,
well,
Adam
doesn't get to vote.
Adam doesn't tie.
Sam and Leah.
It'd be Sam,
He doesn't get to vote.
Bailey,
No, Sam,
Cooper,
Bailey, and
and
Cooper.
Bree.
No.
I just don't know if
Bailey's
two-
not
I think Sam. Not Sam.
Right, this is what
Yeah,
I'm
I think
saying.
Adam still
This is what I'm
votes.
saying. Sam's not voting Adam. Bailey and Cooper
Yeah.
aren't voting Andrew, and Bree's not voting, and Bree and Sam are voting Leia. So I don't know how that shakes out.
It's just Adam goes home, so Andrew wastes.
Yeah, Adam goes home
trying
regardless,
to
I
tell.
think.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah,
how
if you-
Adam goes
two-
hau How is there 2 votes on Adam?
Bree and
Bailey and Bree will
Were
vote
the
for
two that
Adam
voted him in
again.
the first place.
Right.
Cooper-
Yes, and this is the thing. Cooper has said I think that he would maybe vote for Andrew to
He
intentionally
would
tie
vote
it again.
Andrew.
Yes, because
Oh,
he
to
would
intentionally
then
tie
force
it.
it to go to rocks. This is what he said. He's like,
Between
he's
all the
like,
girls.
yes, I would just try and figure out where the votes are going to be and tie it on purpose and vote for Andrew and then go to rocks.
How does rocks work though? Because isn't there a chance where then it could be unanimous, and then Cooper would just not make it unanimous?
Right. So this is the question. I'm actually curious, Austin, what you would make of this. If this is another thing with this. Cooper has said as well that he would just say, I'm not agreeing no matter what.
For if
If
He's not
someone
ag-
says out loud at rocks, like, I just won't agree. Like, I just want rocks. Can you do that? Or do you have to like give a name? Do you know what I mean?
well, it would just be whatever their initial vote was. So the vote would have had to be forced to be a tie.
Yeah,
So
let's say
he-
it's a tie, right? And then they're like, Cooper,
Yeah.
do you want to vote off Andrew or Adam? And he's like, I want rocks.
But if he wants rocks, then it's 6 with whatever his vote is. So they all can jump on that. I don't think you can.
You
I
have to
guess
say
in
a
theory
name.
he
You
could
see what I'm
just flip
saying?
the other one. Yeah, but I would think. Yeah,
I think there'd be
think-
a point
I think-
where
I think it's the same way to me that a blind vote would work. I think if that came down to that, you'd have to force people to say a name. You'd have to choose one, and then everybody else would have to lock in on that. Because it doesn't feel like you should be able. The whole point of a vote is that you are basing your vote independently. So
Yeah. I don't know. I think we should move on though. And
Yeah, it's not
talk
an
about what that's I like this though, but this is the point of how confusing this vote is, right? Like
yeah,
it could have gone a million different ways.
I was saying in the chat, I forgive Adam now. It's confusing. So actually, Adam, it's no fault of his own or their own. Completely not an incorrect move.
I mean, do you guys think if you were Adam, would you believe? Because Cooper kind of reads what the girls are gonna do to some degree.
I mean, I guess if Sam is telling me that like no Bree's good with me, I'd have to trust Sam.
I
Yeah,
still
I mean,
stand
if
on the, or go ahead, Lee.
I don't know, I was just gonna agree. It's like if you compare to someone who's been with you since day one, compared to someone who just wrote your name down last tribal, I believe the one who's told me, yeah, they're good. I would probably check with Bree myself rather than take someone's word for it. But if it's like very last minute, then you just have to go with the person you trust more. And it's Cooper. Who trusts Cooper other than his little puppy dog?
What did we think of Leia's decision-making process here?
The list.
So it's interesting because Adam is not like friends with Leia, right? Adam gets himself added to Leia's list this episode.
That's the thing that I thought was very funny. Like the list has come full circle, where the list started as F the idea of alliances, F the idea of like what Survivor is. Now the list is just who I want to be in an alliance with for this vote. Like it's completely the same as a normal Survivor alliance, which I thought was ironic in that sense. But yeah, Leia's. I think it's rationalizing a very strategic decision. What I think to the question you had before about Adam, like the problem was it just seems like they had the wrong reads on most of these people. Both like the scene of being very confident that they would beat Sam in a jury, like that just did not read well, I think, to anybody watching or anyone in the game, as Cooper's face clearly showed. And that I think translates to like Bree was not actually feeling trust with Adam, and Adam just was sold by it. And so I think in that case, if I'm Adam, I'm just probably not reading the situation correctly, even if Cooper's telling me that.
I still don't understand like a single negative point to not vote Leia if you're Adam, even if you think people are going to vote the way that they say they're voting.
The thing is, Adam, though, doesn't play by this kind of more game body mentality, right?
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking game body. Like,
I agree with you, but like Adam has never made a decision for those kinds of reasons in this game, right?
Well, I guess just looking forward, if Adam goes and votes Leia out, then he would just have to work with Sam, Cooper, and Andrew to get through, right?
But the only way Leia goes home if he votes Leia is if people lied to him, right? Because if they told him the truth, it would be 3 on Bailey, and then on the revote, he would just vote out Bailey, and Leia would stay in. So the only way Leia goes home if he votes Leia is if literally Bree and Leia, or Bree in this case, lies to him and votes Adam, and it saves himself and in fact sends Leia home, in which case people were lying to him anyways. True. So there's no way Leia goes home unless people are lying to him. And his vote really doesn't count, and then on the revote, he just votes Bailey. So there's just like no reason not to vote Leia from a game theory perspective.
And this is why Dale won.
Do you guys think that Bree and Leia should have just voted Bailey like Sam wanted them to? Or did they make the right move for themselves by keeping Bailey?
Bree, yes. Leia, I'll say yes as well. No, I'm going to say no for Leia because Bree would work with anyone. Bailey would vote Leia over Andrew. Towards Bree, I think Bree would keep Leia. And she was not working with Adam because she has some vendetta. We thought Sarah obsessed with Cooper was a problem. Bree obsessed with Adam is like the new Sarah obsessed with Cooper.
Wait, do we have any reason why Bree wants to get out Adam? Because I feel if she wants to play like to win against people at the end, I feel she has a good chance against Adam, right?
I think she's just annoyed.
But okay. She also, I mean, yeah, like not to. This is again is sort of like a mini spoiler for the beginning of the next episode, but essentially, like Bree's rationale for it is that she thinks she's in this final 3 with Sam and Leia, and she doesn't trust that at final 4 or 5 she's safe with Adam in the game because of Sam's relationship with Adam. So she wanted Adam out for strategic reasons as well. She thought that he was going to be a hindrance to her potentially, and she's obviously tight with Bailey. Like, why would Bree want Bailey out? I think it makes sense for Bree to keep Bailey.
Yeah. But I don't think she has a chance to like. I think she's gonna make it to the end no matter what. It's just more so like, who can she beat at the end? That's like my question, I guess.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think.
Well, I think she said it in this episode, right? I think Bree was like, "I think I could beat Leia and Sam at the end," and then she goes, "I think I could beat anyone."
I think her thought process is that like she's played a better social game than them, and that she feels like she was more in with the people on the bottom and pissed them off less. I think that is kind of part of her thought process.
The hard part to predict with they all seem pretty delusional about their chances, even the ones who are in better chances. I still, the thing that honestly has blown my mind most about this season is why people aren't talking more about Cooper being a huge threat. And maybe there's something just like that they all feel like they're making their own moves. I guess it's that everybody sees the story is framed around them, but like Cooper came in as by far the most known player, by far the biggest threat for being the host, knew everyone, has certainly been playing hard, and it just seems like he's talked about for sure. And like, I mean, obviously this episode they were talking about before immunity that they were looking to get him. But even in that sense, you don't hear people saying like 100% if he gets to the end, he's going to win. I think that probably will happen. Like he seems like a last juror to me, but it has not been to the crescendo of what I would have expected when we were comparing him to like Chris LeCombs.
I think that there's an aspect at which there's a decent number of people that I don't know if this has fully come across like on the show yet, that like there's just a thought that people like don't want Cooper to win. It, like to a degree that like because he was that like there's a thought that people in the game have a little bit that like people just don't want Cooper to win. That's like why they want him out, and it's also just like people don't want him to win, kind of. And I don't know how like
I guess is it sort of the ribbing like with Cooper got 7th, like he's like the butt of jokes in a way that it's like funny to like dunk on him.
I think it's like it's like Cooper openly said that he only kept Survivor. Not this isn't like really true, but he said it as a joke that's like half real, that he only kept the club going to play again. And it's like people knew just how obsessive Cooper was, and that he would go to. It's almost like the person who wants it the most is the person you want least to have it, if that makes sense. I don't know how to fully explain that, but there's a decent number of people that just didn't want to.
He's a pick-me player, pretty much.
But also, I also do think though that like at this point in the game, people hadn't seen how people were pretty down on Cooper's game, honestly, at this point, right? This vote.
Yeah. I mean, I'm relating it back to my season. I was convinced if any return,
you have to,
or if any returnee made it to the finals, they would win. So like I was absolutely never trying to bring Matthew at Final Four to the end, because in my mind, it's like you came into the game as a returnee, you had this target on your back from day one. Like no matter what type of game you played, like you lasted and you survived. So I agree with you, Austin. Like I don't know why people aren't, even if they don't respect this game, at least my mind and my season was going towards a returnee player with this target should not make it.
Some of it was,
and Cooper's like the ultimate returnee,
right?
Like,
yeah.
Like
in the last episode, we see the part where it's almost unanimous on Cooper. And there is an aspect of like even Andrew's annoyed with him. Like there was an aspect of like Cooper had gotten caught in some of his lies of how he was like promising everybody like Final 3, Final 4, you know? And people were kind of like, he just had the reputation at this point of like, who can really trust him? Like, we don't know where he is. Like he could be with anybody. But this week, I think it's more clear who he was with. It at this point of the game is like fluctuating like by the minute who was with who, and like if Bailey, Cooper, and Andrew being this super tight 3, you would never have said that like a couple episodes ago, I feel like.
Well, that's I think that Leia keeping Bailey was probably the right move. Not because this week, I mean, she like didn't vote with her, so you could make the argument that like, okay, the trust wasn't there, but it feels like keeping people with the relationship capital, even if you are like fighting with them for the last 2 weeks, it seems like they can go right back to healing it. So like to me, Leia and Bailey have such an existing or an established rapport that they can go back to that like I could see next week very easily them forming a bond again and voting together. So you almost like want to keep the puzzle pieces on the board that you, even if you knock them over 7 times, like you can pick them back up and then go to the final 2 together. That's what it feels like. And that's what it feels like with losing like Megan and Adam, even, that we're now getting to the people who feel comfortable with each other in like, I just have this established history. And I'm not even talking about the pregame stuff, like within this season, the history together to say we are going to be the figures at the end.
Yeah, definitely.
But you don't really know where they're going to align week to week, to your point. I mean, I feel like it's like impossible to predict.
What do you guys see as happening next week?
Everybody gets a vote.
Cooper safe.
Leia versus Cooper.
Well, Cooper
Part
has
2, the remix. Yeah, but does he play it though? I can see Cooper holding on to you.
Oh, you could play it until 5, right?
Yeah, and we're only at 6. It's not like you, Dale, where you had 2 idols at Final 6, and it's like, I have it easy.
That's rough.
Yeah, I can see Cooper not getting idled out and just not playing it because he believes he can easily just make it past 5. Honestly, I want that to happen now.
I think it's tough when people know you have the idol not to play the idol. Like for me, it was a little different not playing them because no one knew I had them. So I felt like I wasn't going to have votes on me just to flush an idol. Whereas Cooper everyone knows he has it at this point. So I feel like he's gonna have to play it just because inherently there's gonna be people trying to flush it.
What do we think of
This is
Cooper? Or sorry, go on.
sorry, it's a total pivot, but I'm interested in what Dale, if you could envision yourself in this season, like from like the final 10 on, like where do you feel like you would fit into this crew?
Like as far as who I would align with, or just
Or just like it feels like you bring a totally different dynamic to it. But Dale, I obviously know you very well, so I'm curious what you make of it.
it's tough to say because honestly, I don't know most of these people from like beyond my season ended and then I graduated and left. So I knew them in the context of either I was playing with them in Survivor or they were in production. And obviously my relationship with production was not great during my season. So obviously since then have seen people at after parties and whatnot. But I like to think I'd probably gravitate towards like Cooper. Like it's similar to like me and Jackson's like relationship. Someone that's just like very much so also game body, is going to do the logical move and just like think every step of the way, like through the play and then try to mitigate against any risks. I would probably say like working with people that maybe don't use as much strategy in their gameplay would probably be who I wouldn't be aligned with. So maybe Leia probably wouldn't be aligned with her just because she seems very much set on not voting out her friends, which is also a strategy.
Hey, clearly you can get on the list. This episode proved that. So
that is true. One thing about Leia's list that is underrated is that it is very possible to get on it, and like I think that one thing that like is like almost an aborted storyline is how close Leia and Will were getting when they were in the game. And I think Leia has said that she thinks that if Will had not gotten voted out, he would have been her closest person in the game, like over Cooper, over Sam, because of how close they were getting on that tribe. And like Emily B, Leia and her were not friends before the season. Leia and Adam had never spoken before the season. And by this episode, she's like unwilling to write down Adam's name, which is wild.
We're at a point where Andrew's the only person not on the list.
Is that correct?
Yeah,
Cooper's
Sam's
off.
on the
Yeah,
list.
well, Cooper's off the list. At this
but
point.
is he on Sam's list or we got to overlap the list?
Everyone's
Who is a crossover between the people Leia won't vote off and the people Sam wants to vote off?
Cooper at this point now.
Actually, yeah.
Well, Cooper's off of Leia's list, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Cooper,
Leia's willing
gunning
to vote
for
her.
Leia and Cooper at this point are like gunning for each other anytime that the other one is not immune,
Bailey's on Sam's hit list, right?
Yeah, everyone except
She's a
I think
crossover.
Bree is on.
Oh, Bailey and Sam want each other out bad right now. Definitely.
Where was this 3 tribes?
The thing I actually have been really enjoying, I enjoyed about Cooper this episode. I'm sure it helped that he was safe, but like, whereas we heard a bunch of people talk about, and this kind of goes to Dale's point of who it probably does make sense of who you'd bond with, but like, it seems like Cooper is just operating on a different wavelength of viewing the game from it seems like Cooper's actually having fun and nobody else is. Like everyone else is just exhausted and hating it, and like I don't even care if I win anymore at this point. And like I love the moment with Cooper before Tribal where it was Leia or maybe it was production that was like, "Are you gonna come over here?" And he was just like, "Nope." And like it was like the one like positive moment that anybody had where they seemed like they smiled throughout it.
Well, I feel like this week Cooper's immunity gives him so much freedom to like be so like open like that. But then next week, yeah.
I remember like if you look at just in real life, in a span of about 3 hours time frame, Cooper went from finding out that it was going to be unanimous on him to winning immunity and getting an idol in the span of like 3 hours. So he was on a roller coaster of emotions in that period of time, from like him finding out from Megan, like everybody's voting for you, you're basically cooked, and then he's just losing his mind, to like winning the challenge, getting an idol, and now he's feeling like I have some breathing room here now. I have some maneuverability that I didn't have a couple hours ago.
Also, isn't this his first immunity win?
Did he win one in season 1? I honestly don't remember. I feel like he did win one in season 1, but maybe not. What would you guys? What's you guys' fuck, marry, kill from this cast?
I believe it was Kiss.
Kiss, marry, kill.
Probably fuck Cooper, marry Sam, kill Leia.
I saw Crouch is on here, so I'm fucking Crouch. What up, baby boy?
Crouch was very surprised that he did not win. Fuck, for the record, when this was happening, he was like, "Why did nobody pick me?"
Looks can only get you so far, but personality is the main thing.
Who else? What did you guys think of Bailey in this episode, right? So like Cooper and Andrew want her to vote for Leia. She's basically like, no. And she basically knows that what they're doing is like, if she votes off Leia, she has no one else to go with. But now with Leia still in the game and Cooper and Andrew still in the game, Bailey has like more options. Like I think it makes sense what everyone's trying to do here. It makes sense Cooper and Andrew want her to vote off Leia, and it makes sense why she would try to find an alternative to that.
Yeah, I think her move, her and Bree's move this week was like they're the two on top right now, right? They've got to be.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone's gonna go for them the next two rounds. I don't see it.
I can see people going for Bailey as like a backup to Cooper's idol.
But I feel they might go for Andrew as the
depends if he wins immunity or not. Bree, there's a reason why Bree hasn't received a vote yet at all this season. So I don't see her receiving any at all this season.
Do you guys think Bree getting to the end and having the claim of I got 0 votes is like a claim?
I mean, it seems to work with the last 2 winners that got 0 votes and made it to the end of Michigan. Maybe she can make it 3 for 3. But I don't remember who said this. I think it was Austin during the jury round table. It's like, you got no votes. And there's plenty of Survivor people who said they got no votes and still lost.
Do you guys have like, who do you guys think is winning? Like, do you have a read on that, you think?
I would Sam or Bailey.
I've been between Andrew. Oh, go ahead.
I don't know. It's like Bree's definitely not winning. I don't see. I'm kind of starting to see a world where Leia kind of wins, but I can also still see where she doesn't. Cooper, I don't think the world of Michigan would let that happen and release the season if it happens. And who am I forgetting?
Sam.
No, I think Sam's winning. Oh, and Andrew's not winning because he's Cooper's puppy dog. So, and I don't know why people do not mention this. He's pretty much Adam, but straight.
Andrew's straight Adam.
Yes, Andrew's straight Adam. Adam is gay Andrew.
I guess if I'd had to choose, I'd say Leia, but I could see a world where Cooper just makes it to the end now. With so much like room now to move around.
I'm spoiled, so I'm not gonna say anything about who I think wins. But Lee, back to your comment. I actually want to defend Adam a little bit. I feel like he doesn't get enough. Like he makes his case throughout the season. He's like, why is everyone viewing me as Sam's puppet? Like I'm making the moves. I saved him during votes. Like I kind of agree with that. I'm like, he's
one thing
that he's the puppet, but he's making moves himself. Like, why is he getting that rep?
One thing that wasn't really honestly shown a ton was that Sam also was actually, surprisingly enough, Sam did not think that he would cream Adam at the end. Like Adam and Sam were both very, very nervous about each other and taking each other to the end, like the whole time, because Sam thought that Adam actually, when they would talk, Adam would say to him like, who saved you at the Dillon Tribal? Who flipped the game at Merge? Whose idol do we give to Lucy? Like that was all me. And I think that resonated with Sam, but it didn't resonate with most of the other people in the game. But Adam and Sam's relationship was such that they could have those kinds of conversations. It wasn't really shown because that's not a super engaging thing to watch. Just people talking about like what ifs at the end, that early in the merge. But there was definitely like both of them it was a weird dynamic where they both were kind of afraid of each other, but also like you see that like their personal bond was such that like it's hard to say if not put into this position like this. I don't know if Sam or Adam ever votes each other out. It's just hard to say.
Yeah, but that's the difference between the two of them it's the difference between the two of them as players, in that Sam is being aware of the threat that others could pose, and Adam is basically just like, no, I'm good, I'm winning for sure. And like I think the fact that Sam can see that there are elements, because I can see why people would think that the story, you're always projecting what the storylines could be at Final Tribal for people, and that's very hard to do when you're in the game and everybody has a very myopic view. But you have to at least think about the possibilities, and I think Sam does a good job and does not seem to overinflate his own chances compared to some, which is why I think, for me, it's down to either Andrew or Sam. I found it really interesting that Andrew was voted, at least like if you were a juror, you wouldn't vote for him this episode. But he did also have the idol play here, which obviously was sort of muddied by the rest of it. But to me, there's enough that if he gets to the end, he can claim the underdog story from where things were a few rounds ago pretty well. And then Sam feels like he's had the most well-rounded story of a lot of them to me, where you have moments of him like with this real emotional resonance, but also like playing very hard and a little bit messy too, like or a lot of it messy for sure. So. Like those are the two that I see. Every round that goes by that Cooper doesn't get targeted or is safe and gets an idol, obviously it becomes closer and closer to that happening. I'm framing this from the like we've talked about the similarities between Cooper and Chris Lecomte, and I never would have thought Chris would get close to the end, but Cooper is certainly getting very close. But for me, it's still between Andrew and Sam, most likely.
Definitely pregame. I thought Cooper was never getting this close. No chance. I thought Cooper might go really, really early, honestly, but it just turned out a different way, I guess. Yeah. I also at this point in the game, like you have to see that like it's very, very hard to read the jury. Like it's really hard to know, like where's like Nick gonna vote, where's Sarah gonna vote, where's Kevin gonna vote. Like these are not easy people to read necessarily what they might do in a potential final 3 or final 2.
But that's why, especially, I think when you hear some of the players talking about, I'm definitely going to beat this person and this person. If you're saying you're definitely going to beat somebody at the end of it, like with how even just this round was so insane. Like there aren't clear moves for people, and the jury's hard to read. I feel like you should be going in just feeling not overconfident about these things. Like Dale, probably for your season, you probably were pretty confident going in, but it was probably a lot more straightforward of what the storylines would have looked like. I'm sure you were concerned about like Jackson and maybe to some extent Shannon.
Yeah, I was nervous every single vote, like even at the very early game. I just feel like if you're not paranoid, you're probably not playing a good game. So I'm probably similar to all these players. Obviously, once I got to 6 with the 2 idols, I had a little bit of breathing room and could play a little more freely. But up until that point, every week was nerve-wracking.
I'll say this, to my understanding, from the final 7 of all the people in the final 7, there were final 3 scenarios where any of them could have won from this point to the end of the game. To my understanding of like the jury dynamics and stuff and who would have been on the jury in various situations, it was fully possible for any of the people to win. So yeah, I don't know what that does necessarily, but
what's the scenario, I guess, like out of this final 7, who does Bree bring to the 3 to win? Or for that matter, and this is based solely on like jury perception. Like it seems like the jury doesn't respect Andrew's game based on, or even Adam's game. Like who do they win against?
I feel like I can't divulge that.
I'm
curious what these other people might think about that.
I think it just depends on how bitter certain.
A lot of people think that if Adam had voted Leia out here, he had a shot.
But then people could just say you just did what Cooper told you to do.
But it was the right move in the end. Then.
But does he have to go to the end with Cooper necessarily? Like,
well, it seems like people avoid voting Cooper when it's necessary.
In general, I think that there is a lot of like Adam's game to me is interesting. I always felt that he let a lot of people go home who he just shouldn't have let go home. Like of the pretty much every person that goes home at the merge except for Sarah, Adam had like a tight relationship with. Like him and Nick did this secret idol hunt together, and I always thought there was a chance they could have formed some kind of secret bond there over that. Him and Kevin did have a pretty solid relationship because they had done this whole crazy plan to vote off Cooper together, and Kevin really trusted Adam. Emily really, really trusted Adam. Like she saw Adam as almost her number 1 person at this point. And Megan also like had been wanting to work with Adam. And I just have always thought that like he should have tried to keep in like 1 or 2 more of those people once he got down to this numbers of people where there was too many people like Bailey and Bree who were willing to cut him.
I think he was probably just relying too much on like Sam and Leia then, which bit him in the ass.
I got the sense that Adam had a bit of like wanting to be in the cool kids club with the group, and there was the talk a few rounds ago of getting cut at 7 when it was the big 7, and it ended up happening in obviously not a exactly linear way, but it felt to me that there was an undertone of that with maybe not the cool kids, but like the in crowd with the list and everything of how that ended up being why Adam chose to stick. The underdogs just really never figured out a way to stick together. Even Andrew didn't give the immunity to Megan last week when it felt like if those two are clearly on the bottom, why not keep some of these underdogs, disconnected people together?
I think that like Andrew and Megan just never really actually had that type of a relationship in the game. Is the truth, like, but
it felt like no one really made the effort to, whether they just didn't like each other or not. Like there was never an effort to group together these people. It was just everybody working to seed themselves into the different relationships that existed.
Yeah, I think the people on the bottom didn't really make a solid like. They didn't ever they did in the show. Honestly, one week they really tried to like form a plan when they go to Sam or when they go to Bailey with all these text messages that Sam has been saying about her. In the show, it made it look like more of a plan than it really was. Like in reality, pretty much Megan, Sarah, and Andrew were all just like, Kevin goes home, that's fine. We don't trust Kevin anyways. Like they just didn't trust Kevin, and they were like, we'll give Kevin this little carrot and let him do whatever he wants with it, basically. But we're just fine with Kevin going. And the problem with that is that like eventually it will just be you. If you're like, I don't know, there definitely was some like complacency there of people thinking they were fine.
Yeah, not to go on the other type of list, but it was the, at first they come from, but then they come
kind of, yeah, a little bit.
different list. But
it was tough for Sarah because everybody on the 7 was telling Sarah it wasn't going to be her, which it wasn't, except for Cooper like forcing it to somehow be her right at the end. But yeah. What else with this episode? What did you guys make of Cooper telling Adam he had the idol? I've always thought this was like kind of a strange move, but Cooper defends this move. He's like, I wanted them to start scrambling, which is what they did, and turning on each other.
I feel this only makes sense if he scares them by like bluffing. He's going to play the idol, but he doesn't. Otherwise, I'm not too sure. That means the next vote, it only makes sense if he doesn't play it, or else they all should vote him next round.
I think it's just probably to, like you said, to instill fear and make someone flip. Be like, I have an idol, I can easily play it. I don't need to play it. I don't know, maybe to gain trust. Maybe to flex a little.
Do we think that Sam is gonna be like happy? Like, what does Sam do from here? Like, is he fine with Bree and Leia for putting him in this position? Or what do we like? I don't know. What do we think happens here?
I think he's not going to be happy, but he's still going to work with them. He's still going to work with Leia. Might not work with Bree. It really depends on who wins the immunity. Because if Cooper wins again, I think he's still going to work with him regardless.
I think if Cooper wins, Sam would flip. I can see it.
Yeah. What do you guys make of the drunk Cooper Sam moment where Sam's like, why should I flip? And Cooper's like, honestly, I can't really think of a good reason why you should flip.
We need more of those. Drunk Survivor.
Big fan of Drunk Survivor.
Yeah, there's been a lot of Drunk Survivor this season. Dale, you really kicked it off with your big Drunk Survivor last season, and now it's just everybody's drunk like all the time.
Yeah, I completely forgot about visiting that weekend for, I think it was the Notre Dame game. So I was glad to make a cameo at
yeah.
other party. More Drunk Survivor. The snooping in Cooper's room was wild. That's a hell of a move. Mad respect for that move.
That was crazy. That's like, there was some talks if like, was that like outside the bounds of the game somehow, like should have not been allowed, but it was determined to be like somebody going through people's bags, but we also didn't want to encourage like breaking and entering.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, she didn't break in. The door was left unlocked. So that's more on Cooper for not locking his door. And why would you keep the advantage in a drawer of all places? Like, come on, Cooper. You're a fan of this show. Hide your stuff better or throw it away.
Yeah, that's part of college to me. If your door's not unlocked, you're inviting people on your floor in. So, like, it's the same thing happened in Maryland, and like I didn't think there was any issue.
No, I mean, I thought it was hilarious.
It's good TV at least.
One thing that wasn't in the show, but it was like kind of a funny story, is that In the previous episode, you see that Leia says to Cooper, like, when Cooper tells her that, oh, you searched my room, she's like, did a producer tell you, or did Sam tell you?
I
And
did
Leia,
see that. Yeah.
So Leia had this, like, the backstory is Leia had this paranoia, like lots of people did, that I was like leaking stuff to Cooper or whatever. And Leia had told Sam, don't tell production that after like the Abby leaks and stuff, there was lots of people that were like, don't tell production stuff, like we don't trust production. And Leia was one of those people. And she was like, telling Sam, don't tell production that I looked through Cooper's room. Now, Leia was also drunk and didn't realize that she had told pretty much everybody at that like tailgate, I looked through Cooper's room, It's like everybody knew except for Cooper, basically. And one day, Leia just busts into my house out of nowhere and just starts screaming at me like, I can't believe it. Like, I can't believe you told or yada 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 yada. You told Cooper yada 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 yada. All she's saying is you told Cooper. And I was like, of course I didn't tell him. And then she goes, so Sam did tell production. So you do know. And I was like, what? What are you talking? She basically like gaslit me into saying that I knew about her searching Cooper's room. She was like, I never believed you told Cooper, but now I know that Sam told production, because how else would you have known about it? I'm going to go scream at Sam now. And I was just like, what just happened to me? Like, just waltzes in, screams at me, walks out of the house, leave. I was so confused. I was like texting the production chat. I was like, does Leia not realize that everybody on production like knew about this because she told us all she was drunk? Like, I'm so confused right now. So she just had this paranoia that Cooper had known that somehow, even though he clearly did not. As you can see how shocked he is when Sam tells him about it. Wait, this is funny. Everybody choose between Sam and, or who is it? Yeah, Sam and Adam.
Between the Espresso boys. I mean, I
wait,
Sam
what's
is
the
near and dear
context
to
of
me.
choosing?
Yeah,
I don't know. There's no context for it.
I like
Like, are
watch
we
Sam
picking-
Weasel through. Yeah.
I'll stick with my season 4 ride or die. Let's go. I'm going Adam.
This is like choosing between my first 2 picks of the draft, because it is. I'll tie it up
Naomi
and
just
say
upped the
Adam. I
stakes
guess
here.
we'll go to rocks.
I went with Adam. So now we're up 2-0, right?
Yeah.
Come on, Dale, of all people, you're not going to appreciate the cowboy hat?
Cowboy hat is nice. I do love the cowboy hat.
Dale, I was kind of disappointed you didn't show up with a costume to this, honestly.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I had to put the baby down. It's a lot of work, fatherhood changes you,
Are you hanging up the Danger Dale hat? Is it over?
No, it's Danger Dale. But we got it. It's in the closet. We could pull it out
The
here.
CT storyline for any challenge people out there.
What else? What else have we not talked
We
about? Is
find-
there any other people's strategies that we haven't like fully addressed? I guess.
Or I guess I just have a question. Why did the production want to do that idol clue? Or like what was the reason?
Oh
there?
yeah, people were like popping off of this in the live chat, but like
Oh yeah.
from my point of view, we had released the way this idol hunt worked, right? Like one clue led to the next, and we had released a lot of clues, and people had the first clue got released, I think, final 10, maybe earlier, final 11. I don't know. It would have been like 4 or 5 weeks of people, and at that point, also the clue that literally told you where it was, like by the stadium, people had been looking in the wrong spot, and then Sam had actually gone. Sam, Leia, and Adam had all gone to where the big house was and looked all over and not found it, which I don't know how they didn't find it because it wasn't like that hard of a thing to find. But at that point, we were just like, yeah, like someone needs to find it. And it wasn't like we just gave it to you. You had to like you had to know how many votes there were. And like only Cooper got it right. So like everybody else
It's not that hard to figure out. You just literally have to count how many people went to every tribal.
I mean, it counted revotes also. It's like slightly more complicated than you'd think, but it's a number that honestly, I feel like if you're in one of these seasons, you should just know going into near the end. You should just always know what that number is because it's going to come up at some point.
There's a trivia challenge or something. Yeah.
What was the tiebreak if 2 people got it?
No, they just both got the clue.
Oh, that would have been.
And then we had somebody stationed there. We were hoping that people would like race for it. We honestly were hoping that multiple people would get the clue.
I think people are just only pissed off about is the fact that Cooper got it.
That's another reason that Cooper told people that he had the idol was because it was kind of just people kind of just knew that he had gotten the clue. Like they saw the numbers written on his parchment. People kind of know his handwriting is whose. Like it wasn't like it was super secret that he had gotten it.
He also
was the number announced?
Mine's the one with the numbers.
No, the number was not announced. But afterwards,
but I guess they figured it out after.
Yeah, they figured it out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, showing a picture as an idol clue is a common college survivor thing. So I don't get why people are upset about it. I don't know if
Yeah.
Maryland does it. I know OSU has done it.
Oh, we only did it
think
because like
it's
people literally couldn't find the idol, and I don't think people were.
Yeah, I
Gonna
mean, I
find it
didn't
at
do a
that
picture.
point.
I said this in the chat. Like, actually, the exact same episode. I think I gave someone the 8th clue to an idol, and they had all. I mean, they had dug it. They all had the exact right spot, and they just couldn't dig in the exact right place.
Right. This was
And,
like that.
Like once
yeah.
once people think that something's already found, you then have no. They stop looking because they just assume. So that part didn't bother me.
Yeah.
What was Cooper's like his whole like pitch during tribal? Like I have 2 idols.
I think what he's
Oh, yeah.
trying to do, I think we'd have to ask him honestly. I'm not totally sure. I think what he's trying to do is convince Adam like don't vote for Bailey because don't vote Bailey or Andrew because they're both getting idols. Like I think that's what he's like somehow. I think he's trying to like give Adam like one final pitch. Like vote Leia, everyone else is gonna be safe, like. But I don't really know how Cooper would have had 2 idols, or I don't know. It doesn't seem like anyone really believed that pitch.
Well, I was surprised he didn't get with Andrew and just ask Andrew, show your idol, I'll show my idol, and we'll just show both. If that's the route they wanted to go. I don't think that's the right
I think
route.
that he had it pre-planned that with Andrew. Like that was just an off-the-cuff thing.
It was off the cuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, not that good.
So what do you think of Andrew having the idol? Did everyone think he had it, or was there people
Finally, we know.
How did people ever? I don't know if people didn't think that he had the idol the whole time. Once it was proven that Emily didn't have it, it was the only way.
Well, it was
I know
never
wasn't
proven that
but,
Emily
like,
didn't have it.
Yeah, but like I just it felt like it was Emily was at that point not looking like the smartest person with the idol.
I think everyone just
It
believed
had to
was
be Andrew. He talked about being fake so many times, which is
yeah. I think that's why people thought it was going to be fake because like if Emily was thinking it was a fake. Like, why wasn't Emily ever questioning her idol? She would never question her idol as a fake if she found it already and hid a fake. Also, why was that the idol? Why was the random stick thing an idol?
We just wanted to make them all look different so that people couldn't like use that as a way of identifying what was a real idol and what was it.
But didn't Jackson and Adam's idol look the same?
Not really.
They were both like necklaces.
They looked more similar. One thing that now that the whole like Pringle idol thing is said and done, in the original like version of the season I was doing, I got about halfway through the season with originally it was, you knew the whole time which each one of them had it. You knew the whole gag was that Andrew has the real idol but he thinks it's fake, and Emily has the fake idol but thinks it's real. And every time this gets brought up, it was just like a gag basically. And it said on their things like real idol thinks it's fake and the vice versa. But after a while, I was like, this isn't really that funny after like 3 or 4 episodes of this, And also, I realized that it made Emily's storyline much, much better if there was a chance that she had the idol. Because otherwise, everything, she just looks really much more foolish. And I actually think anyone in her position would have believed the idol was real. Like, it looked super real. It was exactly the spot. And that idol never gets, like, because Andrew thinks it is fake, that idol's never being discussed by anybody. Like, the longer you go in the game, having found the idol, and there never being any evidence of someone else having it, the more and more it confirms that, like, you do have it. And so I honestly think anybody would have thought they had it in her position. So I, like, didn't think it was necessary for the edit to, like, clown on her for that, because I honestly thought anybody would have thought it was real. And I realized it was going to make her look just like, I didn't like how it was making her look. I thought it was more fair to her storyline and more like, it makes her strategy make a lot more sense of why she's like, she feels like she has this like trump card she's going to pull out late in the game,
Yeah, but that would have been more justifiable if she had even tried to play it. I think that's the tough part about it.
Yeah, it also comes into like
idols.
Crouch didn't think he had it the whole time, so it just kind of like he didn't believe he had it like even up till parts in this episode. And then the other reason it helped a lot was just with episode 6, like it just made that story make way more sense if you could believe that Kevin had the idol. Because Kevin and Adam's plan to like how they're trying to do that vote actually just makes way more sense if Kevin actually has an idol. And trying to understand it where Kevin doesn't have an idol was very confusing. I was confused by it. I was like, it's easier to understand if we think Kevin might have an idol here.
I also didn't think you had it in you to troll Andrew on that front. Like, I feel like with the Andrew Rocks thing and like the sentiment that's been behind him, I just was like, I don't think you're clowning on Andrew for a whole season about this idol.
Is it clowning if he also didn't believe it was real?
No, but then his hopes got up a little bit, so it's still, anytime you play a fake idol, it doesn't work. You don't look great.
Yeah.
I
that's
never
I kinda wanna-
really. Or sorry, go ahead, Lee.
I know, I was gonna say, I kind of want a whole backstory of just Andrew finding the idol and then coming up with this plan to hide the fake one and how he did all that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that complicated. He found it, then he hit a fake idol, then Emily found the fake idol. But like,
That's
there's
why-
footage of that. It'll probably be in some bonus content eventually, you know?
Curious what everyone's thoughts on fake idols are in the first place. Like, I never saw the value to them at all. Like, one, like, unless you see who finds it, you don't know who finds it, and then that gives that person an opportunity to build trust with other people, because in their mind it's a true idol, and it's going to force those people to play illogically compared to what your perspective is. And you need predictability in the game of Survivor, so you can't predict if you don't know who has the fake idol. So the only benefit is it gets people off your scent if you have it, which really just don't tell people, and then they'll never know. So curious what other people think about fake idols and their value in the game.
Yeah, I feel like the latest season of Survivor like speaks on of fake idols so much, and the only one that I feel was effective about it was like Matthew, where he hid the idol, the fake idol, and then brought his ally to come find it. So
Yes.
they would,
Unless you're there and you see it, found it, and helps you build trust, but
yep.
but then ultimately you have to kind of come clean, because that person can be like, let's do this move, I have this idol, like we're gonna do it, and you're like, no, it's fake, I planted it, and then it just
That is
creates
true.
way for you to burn bridges. I don't know, I just feel like there's a lot of wrong that could happen with them versus the very minimal benefit they bring.
I always
I
would
think-
say during Maryland seasons that fake idols are fake gameplay. Like you're trying hard, and like it feels like it's doing a lot, and like everyone feels like they're being very schemy with it. And like sure, there are times where it had benefited people in Maryland and it benefits people everywhere. But for one, it feels kind of cheap, I think, in College Survivor, because I mean it is cheap. You can literally buy it, and that can really get out of control very quickly. But yeah, no, I think you're right. Like it's a distraction from the core parts of the game, which are build the trust, build the alliances, make the strategic decisions. It doesn't really help you with any of those for the most part. So I'm mostly out on them. I'm glad that it didn't. There was so much of it early in the season. I don't think it ended up really like hurting the season much in the long term trajectory. But early on, it was like, oh boy, where's this going?
People aren't gonna like this take, because I know that everybody loves the very early Megan and Jackson stuff, but I also think like Jackson planting all the fake idols and it getting leaked like wasn't the worst thing for like the TV show, because I agree, in like modern CBS Survivor, like if everybody thinks they have an idol and it's all fake, it's just gonna lead to a lot of like goofy stuff and people not making sense. And I just think it ultimately is less interesting. Like one like person having a fake idol, fine. But like we were heading down a path where we could have ended up with like half the game thinking they had an idol. And I just don't know if that, like, it's funny as a gag, but is it really going to end up being like compelling ultimately? Like, because it's not going to come down to the relationships, like when people are getting voted out. And I do still think that is what like should impact most votes, is like the relationships one way or another, you know?
And ultimately, how does it help the person that hid the idols in the first place?
Right. Like, I don't think
Now
it's
you're
helping.
discussing
It's not helping Jackson, because Aaron finds one. Like that would have been hurting him. Like Aaron was one of the people who's working with him, you know?
Right.
But it's funny. People do it because it's funny. And I respect Jack. Like Jax came into the season and I think he knew he didn't really have a good shot even from the get-go. He low-key got lucky. He got as far as he did. Like he was going if their tribe ever lost. And so I think he was just kind of like, I'm going to cause chaos because like, I don't really care. And I think he even knew that like his closest alliance, Megan, she was just a million times in a better position than he was. And so he's just like, I'm going to throw caution to the wind, which I think is hilarious. Good TV. I'm glad he did it. It was funny as fuck. But I'm also not that, like, from a TV standpoint, I don't super mind it that it didn't lead to like everybody finding one.
Yeah.
Jackson's was funny in the sheer volume of it. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like if you either got to do one or you got to do 17.
And it was great that like
it is terrible.
There was a sense early on in the game, like people on Sangria were really confused why they were like, it feels like Jackson's not reaching out enough. Like they expected him to be such a like go player meeting with everybody, which he wasn't super doing, but what he was doing was running all over campus, hiding a billion idols, scrounging up every clue he could possibly find and immediately hiding an idol there. Like not even really, like he was looking for the idols, but even more than that, he was just looking for places to hide fake idols. And I do respect that. I do really respect that from a TV standpoint.
I think the only way a fake idol is good is if you flash it at like a tribal to make people not vote you.
Yeah,
divert to vote you.
Like the Jordan like thing. The Jordan
Yeah,
Schubert
like-
thing, like the Eliza Devin thing, like that stuff works, you know.
Yeah, like when
Yeah,
Sabrina
the
pulled out
bluffing
that
is more
wolf
effective with
bracelet.
it, yeah.
I don't know if the bluffing it would have been that effective in this season though. I think that idea had been out. The cat was out of the bag a bit. Like I don't know how many people
Cat's
would have bought
back?
that.
My point more or less was like not necessarily you having a fake or creating a fake for yourself, but blindly planting fakes for anyone to find and not knowing who has them. Like I don't understand the game value in that.
Yeah, there isn't really any. It's just while watching it, you just kind of get annoyed because it's like, oh, you
Yeah.
think you're going to do this master plan thing, but in actuality, it's not going to work because it's a fake. And I think Emily is kind of proof where it's like you have an idol you think is real, and you make this whole strategy around it, and ultimately you just don't get anything from it. You just go home believing you had a real idol.
Yeah. Yeah. Emily thought she had the idol up until I think Andrew played his. We'd have to get her confirmation on that. I think that she had started to suspect, but I think this was like then you could see Kevin like nudge her, like, okay, see what yours was fake. But when she entered the jury, she was like, I had the idol, guys, and everyone was like, God damn it, what the fuck? So what else? What else? I don't know.
I guess
Should we talk
talked
about each superlatives?
Not every single one.
Or,
I think it was interesting, like some of the bigger ones though. Like Leia got who's controlling the game, Sam got most likely to win, Crouch got least likely to win. Like, do we think that those will have any impact? Cooper got person you want to vote off next. Do you think any of those will have impacts on anybody's like thought process?
I think with this season, no. Because I think, like you said, everyone has a chance to win. Whether everybody believes that's another thing. But it seemed like everybody was shocked by every answer that was voted the majority, like they don't believe it's true.
Yeah,
like,
so
yeah, Sam was voted.
Because, like, yeah, I think it's a weird thing where sometimes some of the answers aren't actually what people think in a weird kind of meta way. I don't know. Do you know what I mean, Austin?
Yeah, the people. I mean, I've played this challenge before, and like sometimes you lean towards saying an answer you think could be the majority because then you can guess it and you're adding to the majority.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. That's how a
it's
lot
hard
of
to get
people
a real gauge on
try to
some of
metagame it.
Well, this challenge actually I've seen broken a few times because if you let them, like if people go in with an alliance for a second, I was wondering if that was going to happen this season.
That was
it seems like something Cooper would do.
Yeah, I had heard recently actually that supposedly Sam, Bree, and Leia had like discussed Leia, and Adam supposedly had like discussed doing that a few rounds like earlier, but then like it didn't. Apparently, like different groups of people, like Cooper and Andrew, or like Bailey. Apparently, this had been discussed as a concept that we should do this before superlatives, but then no one really got around to like actually doing it. You know?
Yeah.
Shannon and I did that during our season. We thought there was going to be a superlative challenge, and we got together and like wrote down 10 or 15 that we thought would be addressed, and both agreed who we would say. But the problem is you just don't know what questions production is going to ask, so it's hard to.
Well, so when I played in Survival Challenge, Adam Klein also played, and basically like a second before the actual votes was just like put my name down for every single thing. So the one alliance voted. It didn't even matter what the questions were; they just automatically had the answer as a majority. And because they knew that was going to happen, they had a couple answers up before the other alliance realized.
Interesting.
So if you do that, yeah, I mean the challenge doesn't work. I think it may have come up with one of my players in All Stars, and I was like, "Don't ruin the challenge; it's more fun." And they didn't, so it worked on that front. But obviously, people are looking for advantage wherever they can.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess any just predictions, like big predictions down the stretch. Like, I don't know, what are people feeling? What are people feeling like is the final three? Or do we still just have no idea? It could go anyway.
I'm going to say Bree, Leia, and Andrew, and Leia wins.
Oh, that'll be a terrible final three.
Lee, is there anyone you like on any season?
No, I hate them all. It's just season 4 all over again. My favorites get voted off too early.
You love season 4. Come on.
Yeah, I do now.
People have come around on season 4, dude. Now everyone's like, "Oh, season 4 is great, so much better than All Stars." Like,
I seen some. What is it? defending Dale or defender
Yeah.
Dale on the
Yeah.
Let's go.
People have come full circle.
Yeah. I'm gonna plummet after this, and then it'll be another years until I kind of uptick again.
I do have a question though. Why did Cooper and Andrew not side with Bailey and vote Sam?
Because they wanted Leia out of the game, and they felt like they could force Bailey to do it. They felt like, because Cooper is still very scared about the three girls working together, so they want Leia out really, really bad, and they know that Leia, like Cooper especially, knows that Leia's coming for him every round, so he like wants Leia out, and they want to force. They know that they're saying. They're like, Bailey wants Sam out of the game, so we got to keep him in this round so we can vote him next round and keep Bailey with us. It's like the classic kind of thing, like because Bailey and Sam are against each other, that puts Cooper and Andrew in a good position if they're both still in the game,
Did they ever think of just doing Bree then? Would have Bailey done Bree and then that gets rid of the Girls Alliance?
I just think that Bree was not seen as like a big enough threat to vote off this round. Bree was not seriously discussed. And Bailey's protecting Bree the same way she's protecting Leia, but like I just think Bree was, they wanted to vote off somebody big this round. They didn't want to vote off Bree.
Okay.
I'm gonna go a final three prediction of Andrew, Bree, and Bailey. And Andrew wins, Bailey gets second. In some ways, it seems like if Bailey gets to the end, she should be a big threat to win. But for whatever reason, I just don't.
I don't think Bailey had good jury management. I think Bailey didn't have good jury management with a lot of the early jurors. Like I don't think she's getting Megan's vote. She might not be getting Sarah's vote. She's definitely not getting Megan's vote. I don't think her and Lucy talked at all, so I don't see a reason Lucy would vote for her. Nick might feel betrayed by her, so I don't see a reason Nick would vote for her. I have heard this jury is very open, but still.
I was surprised
that's already
not to see more alliances based on season. It seemed like that wasn't a thing at all.
More of that. The only thing there was well, first of all, there's not a lot of season 4, season 1 people to begin with. Season 3 people were all hate each other, so they were never going to have an alliance. And what there was Lucy was the first person from season 2 voted out, and before Lucy got voted out, there was a lot of rumors that there was a secret season 2 alliance, that all the season 2 people were secretly aligned, and that's the reason why Nick and Bree saved Sam when it was between like Sam and Aaron. And there was a lot of rumors about that, and people were really nervous about that. And there was talks of like, should we get everybody from non-season 2 together at merge if all of season 2 makes merge? Like, we're really concerned about that. But then like Lucy goes, Nick goes, and then people were like, that's clearly not a thing.
Kevin goes.
Yeah. Then like 3 season 2 is one in the row. But there was a period of time where there was like mutterings, as there's always mutterings, like, oh, is season 2 secretly like, are they secretly like trying to run the whole game?
Yeah, one can dream. Season 2 is my favorite season, so I'm biased. So that's why.
How many are left in this final 6? 3?
Yeah, 3 season 2s are left.
Yeah,
and all of season 2 jury. Season 2 did well on this All Stars.
Yeah. So my final 3 prediction will be all the season 2s left being Sam, Bailey, and Bree, with I'm going to say Sam winning.
Okie dokie.
Toki dokie.
Toki dokie, yeah.
And if Sam wins, I win the draft because I picked Sam first.
All right, well, I guess like just here we go, some Dale defenders right here, Dale.
Let's go.
Last thoughts, I guess, just on like the season as a whole up to this point, or just like general thoughts on where you stand right now going into the last 2 episodes.
This episode was so good, so many perspectives that you really like. You can understand where everyone's coming from. It's a lot more complex, and then we really see like where people's decisions are up until like that final like 5 minutes even.
This was a great episode coming off of last episode, which I'm sure people are boycotting. This season is good. Are there things that are annoying? Yes, but that's every Survivor season. I think overall it is a great season. It lives up to the hype. People keep watching it. Even if you don't like the people left, just hate watch it and beg for their demise.
Dale, how's it for you? Like how watching it, like how you knew some stuff, but I'm assuming not like the nitty-gritty, right?
Yeah,
I only
honestly, I'm pretty much only know who wins the season. I don't know anything in between. So I got kicked off of production pretty early. So I think I know.
What
were you, Abby?
What was that? What was the question?
So were you Abby?
No, I was not. I was the Abby scandal was part of the reason I got kicked off of production because I was coming to season 4's defense. But yes, I really don't know a whole lot. It's been super interesting to watch. It's like I know a lot of these people like from having met them in person, and then others I've just known through like a group chat. So it's really fun to kind of like, get to watch their personalities and watch the Survivor Michigan life carry on. So it's been fun to watch for sure. And I'll also defend the season. I know there's a lot of hate, but I actually enjoy the longer episodes. Sometimes I feel like the hour ones just are cut a little too short, and it's I'm looking for more. So
you're like a game botter though, so you like I'm sure you just like love all the different strategy and such.
Yeah, I'd like to see more of it. It's like it really helps define why people are thinking the way that they do. So it's interesting to me.
When I'll go back and do the revised season 4 with like 3-hour episodes for each season 4 episode.
Yeah, just don't make it the Gronky cut.
I'm telling you, that might happen one day. I think it's
the what cut?
I've joked about the cat cut, which would be like an hour-long special where it's season 4, but like it's all from Kat's point of view, and like she's the mastermind behind it all, and like it gets completely robbed at Final Tribal.
I mean, I made a video where I can see Kat winning.
So
if Shannon got voted off of Final 4.
Man of many hats over there. What are your final thoughts?
Austin, that's you.
Oh, I thought it was well, there's two of us.
You're taking those hats off. I see.
You had
like a hat on top of a hat.
I realized there were two. It was hat sections.
Oh, I thought that was a gag. I thought you were doing it on purpose.
Yeah. Oh, well, sort of, but no. Well, no, I'm doing this in solidarity because I picked Sam at the beginning. I am rooting for Sam. I think Sam would be the most enjoyable winner for me, and like I've really like when you start from the text from the beginning, and everybody loves a good text gate, and you recover from that and build everything. Like I think he does embody a lot of what made season 2 really, really fun, of having such a good blend of people and strategy and characters all together. So I would be excited about that, but I'm very excited to see. I mean, it is so unpredictable week to week at this point, going into the last few stretches. That, I'm just excited to see where it goes, and I'm excited to see what you have in story. And I'm sure I've given up predicting anything because it's you're a mastermind. I don't know what's going on. I'm also literally running out of fumes, so nothing I just said made any sense. I'm short-circuiting.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys all.
People want to know how long the finale is.
Who wants to know that?
The people. I'm asking for the people.
It's 6 hours long.
Don't know for sure yet. Still finishing it up. Can't say for sure, but a reasonable length, a reasonable brisk clip for sure.
Yeah,
we gotta wrap up. It's got to wrap up not just 1 season, but 5 seasons. Is kind of the way I'm looking at it. So, the attempt is for it to feel like a real ending to like the whole thing. For now, there will be more Survivor Michigan, but to this like section of it at least.
Wait, and also just a note for like the montages whenever like they're making their decisions. It's so good. It adds so much to like the narrative of like, oh shit, like who are they really gonna choose? I just want to say the montages are a good touch.
Thanks. Yeah, the Sam Adam like vote montage tribal was like one of the earlier things I edited in this season because like I was just so excited about it. I just thought it was such a like Greek tragic moment, like Sam having to pick.
It felt like that was a direct callback to the It's Liz thing, right? Like I had to go watch that scene again, but I feel like the montage there was a montage for that one too, right?
That one's like it's just one.
Flashback.
It's one flashback. It's one flashback to Petrowski. It's a similar idea though. It's definitely a similar idea. It's a similar kind of brutal moment. Like in terms of Survivor Michigan lore, Sam having to choose between Adam and Leia is like known internally as like up there with like the Liz thing and a few other things. As just like one of the most brutal things that ever happened.
I love this moment and this tribal, but to me, It's Liz is still way higher in the halls of Michigan fame and lore. I mean, that moment, like you just can't top that moment.
I mean, I think that's,
or maybe you can.
It's just, I don't know. I mean, It's Liz is special. It's Liz also is like such a it's like you can just say it and know what it is. You know what I mean? Just like, yeah, It's Liz. Like, you know what it is just by saying it.
Yeah.
Part of me likes to think Sam voted Adam just so Cooper didn't get his way.
No, I mean, he was in a brutal place. Sam was in a brutal place after this vote, like emotionally. So yeah, that's the after show. Thank you guys for all coming on. Do you guys want to like plug any of your stuff? Like you know, Mr. Twin Cities, like what's the deal with you guys this show? Is it coming out? What's happening?
Yeah, so the first season I was on, that's lost footage. Never gonna see the day of light. But this season, it's crazy stuff. And then we're having a production team all like helping each other like edit, so that'll be good. And it should come out by the fall of this year. Awesome.
Looking forward to that. Austin, what about you? I heard you're ghost editing seasons 15 through 20 of Survivor Maryland, and we can be expecting those very.
I just got sent a rough cut of episode 1 for season 12, which I think will come out after season 8. So there are real things happening in the Maryland world. No, I mean if you enjoyed Michigan Survivor All Stars and you haven't seen Maryland All Stars, I feel like those two go well together. So feel free to check that out on YouTube. And I mean, it does really seem like Maryland season 8 is. I know Anders is working very hard on it and like actually making a lot of progress. So that will be a fun season when it comes out too. So I'm not doing anything else. We are having the 20th season reunion for Survivor Maryland in a month, which is insane.
Wow. That's crazy.
Always.
Dale, how come, when are you making it out to the next Survivor Michigan reunion? I keep hearing you talk about coming.
I wanted to go. So last year I was planning on going, and then my daughter's due date was on the same weekend.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So, should I go? And then, if my wife goes into labor, I could just jump back into Chicago, but made the ultimate decision not to go. So hopefully this year it's not on her first birthday and I can make it out there. I know that they're planning around dates right now. So the idea is to come. I think it'd be super fun.
Sounds good. Yeah, we'd love to see you. Yeah. Well, and Lee hosts a podcast about Survivor. You guys can check that out as well.
Yeah, check out the LRG. I talk with the Michigan people or Ian whenever I don't get in contact with the eliminated player, where we basically talk about their side of the game, and I just heavily compliment them after talking shit about them. And then I feel bad about doing it because then I realize they're actual people.
Yeah, but Lee, don't worry. Everybody likes to hear.
Everybody knows,
and they'd rather see more fun things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trust me, the Michigan players have read. They're like weathered people at this point. After reading like a lot of the comments throughout the season about them, they're all just like have hearts of stone at this point and don't care what anybody says.
Were those a bunch of Michigan players that like made those fake accounts the other day, or
dude? I
saw a lot of chatter about.
We don't. It looks like it, but. We don't think so. At least if it was, I don't know who it was. I texted a few people and I was like, "Who is this?" Like, it does seem like these. I was like, the Discord's accusing these people of being bots, but like, I also feel like they're bots. They just show up out of nowhere. It felt very body, but if it was people in Michigan, they did not tell me. So, yeah, I don't know.
This is great. Fake bots to complain.
Maybe it was all you, Dale. You made like 6 burner accounts.
I don't know. Dane's a Dale.
Yeah.
Each burner account has one of Jackson's fake idols.
Well, thank you guys all for coming on. As always, loved having all you guys' takes. And yeah, definitely check out all that other stuff. If you haven't seen like Survivor Maryland All-Stars, obviously, I feel like if you're watching this, you probably have. But if you haven't, 100% check that out. And,
never heard of it.
Survivor, Twin
Same.
Cities can't wait for it. Actually, wait, before we get going, Austin, I did have one question for you. With like obviously Survivor Michigan has been all of the like friendship, pre-gaming and this kind of stuff that people have talked about. Do you feel like that is fundamentally different from like the way that you felt like Maryland happened? Because I watched Survivor Maryland All Stars after Michigan had already happened, and when I watched it, it came off to me like it was somewhat similar, less to the degree of like you don't have like someone like Leia whose whole strategy surrounding this, but I watched it and I was like, yeah, I guess like this is what happens on these all-star seasons. Like it came off to me at least like it wasn't as dissimilar, I guess, in a good way. Like you have Chris LeCompte, Eric, tons of people, Chris Thomas, lots of people who are connected to each other. And I thought it was similar, like, oh, look how deep these relationships go. This is so interesting. I don't know if you take on that or not.
No, I think I know it's been a big discussion in the community, and you cannot have these seasons without pregame relationships, even if they're not even from like they could be from the seasons. Like we're not pulling from 20 seasons, so people are obviously going to know each other from the games they played. So you already start with a floor of that happening, and then there were obviously more on top of that from people knowing each other from the Survivor community or just things on campus, and it's always going to play a part in the game. I think we were lucky I did work really hard to try to create scenarios for people to have different game iterations that didn't involve their pregame friendships. And like, that's where the partner twist came from, honestly. Like it was an attempt to give people options that would explore both like differences in what their tribes were, differences in their seasons, just like form new relationships. But like, I mean, people have said that like Chris Thomas survived early on the back of pregame relationships. And I think that is in part true. Like the reckless game he was playing, he doesn't get away with that if he doesn't know some of the people. So it's going to factor into these seasons no matter what. I think it depends on the people individually of how they manifest that. The thing that was like, I kind of projected my feelings on experiencing that into the season where I thought for so long that we were going to have these Cooper and Sam showdowns for like the entire post-merge, or at least the early post-merge. And that just hasn't happened. The nice thing was that people knew each other in a positive way, but a lot of people really like had sort of antagonistic feelings or like game related antagonistic feelings. So you had a really good mix of people both wanting to work with each other and also wanting to get each other out. And like, that's for me why, and to your point of why they're really compelling, like Shannon turning on Chris LeCompte to me is maybe the most potent moment of the season because it was voting out someone that was her best friend. And those things are really compelling. So they can have really high highs. They can definitely have low lows. I think we've seen some of both of that in the Michigan season, but every season is going to have different permutations of how that works. So I don't think you can negate it entirely. As production, you should always be working to mitigate it, but also not discourage it because it's part of what makes it compelling.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think it's interesting. Like, that is the thing that I think that makes these college survivors stand out ultimately is that like, there is going to be these kinds of relationships. And for Survivor Michigan, at least, I think it goes back to the very beginning. Like Alex Tarowski doesn't win the game without a secret alliance with Alex Thal, which is ultimately a completely outside the game relationship. And so to me, it's been like inbred in Survivor Michigan since day one. Is like part of our story is just that kind of thing. And it manifests in different ways in different seasons. Season 4 probably had the least of that, but you still have Aaron and Kat, and Kat's getting a penalty vote and all this sort of stuff. Also, it's always going to manifest in some capacity. And yeah, I think that I agree with people that like the middle portion of this season can feel a little slow at times. I think that now we're into the part where that starts to like pay off. And because these people are still there, it is very like the scenes of Leia and Cooper talking where they just are like hanging out, but have nothing to say to each other, I think is like kind of twisted, compelling. Like there's something dark and interesting about it in a certain way. And there's a lot of people like that at this stage. So yeah, no. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of Lee. Sorry. Yes,
I was gonna say, I think there's more season 3 people in the merge that hated each other, then I think it'd probably be a lot different. Yeah. Like imagine if Paddock, Will, and Aaron all made the merge.
I do think that season 3 had a little too much beef coming into this game. Like I think that did hurt them in some capacity, is that it was known that there's large groups of people that don't want to like there's a whole Aaron versus Paddock contingent. And that kind of led to both of them, people being afraid to work with them at various times because they're afraid of pissing off a whole other half of the game. But it could have also gone down a different way too. Like, I don't know. Something I think is easy to forget is at the very beginning of the game, like Cooper wanted to work with Paddock over Bailey, like I felt like, and Paddock basically just got thrown under the bus by Sam in a really goofy way. Like Paddock got torched in a weird way in this game. But yeah, I'll let these guys go. It's getting pretty late here. I also need to go to bed. So thank you guys all for coming. Dale, great to see you as always. Austin, always a pleasure to have you. You know, the godfather of College Survivor. None of us would be here without you.
Two
honestly.
godfathers on one episode of the after show.
I know.
That'd be too much.
Yeah. Super nice to meet you. Tivu. How's it pronounced?
Well, it's Trong, but you can call me Tivu. Yeah.
Tivu. Okay. And Lee, always a pleasure. So yeah.
Great meeting you all too.
Great to see all you guys. Can't wait to come on the Survivor Twin Cities after show this fall.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
That's a reunion for us.
Yeah, it's a Michigan episode 13 after show reunion. We're gonna have to start doing those every year, just like the Survivor Maryland.
Every year.
Yeah. Michigan reunions. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait for 20 years, as Andrew thought in chat.
Woo.